Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Greg. Welcome to the channel. greg.thunderwizard.com if you're interested in getting a Thunder astrology reading or a 9-world rune reading. Today I'm going to be talking about the fire signs in Vedic astrology and the houses that they originally sit in. And so I made this chart right here on paper, my artistic talent. So right here is where the fire signs are. This right here is the first house, and this is always going to be the first house in this is the North Indian chart. And so that's the first house. This is the fifth house, and this is the ninth house. And these are where the fire signs normally sit. The Vedic and Western, actually, the both of them, they start with the sign Aries. That's the beginning of the zodiac, Aries, and then in both of them, what follows Aries is always Taurus, and what follows Taurus is always Gemini, and what follows Gemini is Cancer, and so on and so on and so on. They're in the same order. So whenever you like, if you turn out to be a Pisces ascendant, your Pisces sign will go into this house, and that means that the sign of Aries is going to move over to the second house. Am I looking at that correctly? Yeah, I think I'm looking at that right. Everything's opposite with the camera right here, but you know what I mean. Everything gets kind of transposed, but the signs are always going to be in the same order. So yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about, the fire signs. And so Aries is always originates in the first house. The first house represents the head, and Aries are very logical. They're very logical, and they can be very scientific. They're very all of the signs are very have good critical minds. The fire signs, of course, like the fire represents action, represents willpower. You know, it represents taking the initiative to go out and go do something, get something done. You know, it represents leadership. It represents expressing your opinions, expressing what's on your mind. You know, telling it like it is. And you know, all these fire signs represent those qualities. But yeah, but each one of them has their own little specific things. Like I was saying about the first house represents the personality. It represents the head. So Aries are very much thinkers. They're good thinkers, and they have very good control of their emotions. In fact, they could sometimes appear emotionless, because Aries are they're represented by they're lorded over by the planet Mars, and Mars is about outward expression. It's about willpower. It's about going out and conquering land. You know, it represents a soldier. In the sign of Aries, this really represents, like, a good example of an Aries is like a general of an army. This is somebody who, when he talks to the soldiers, you know, he just tells them what's going on. This is what we got to do, and you know, he's being very forceful with his voice and strong willpower. And you know, he's not being all emotional and caring. You know, there's no emotions going on. He has emotions, but his emotions are under control. His or her emotions, they're under control, and they're very they can appear insensitive to certain types of people. You know, and some of them may be that way. You know, when they get off balance, they can be that way. But for the most part, they just have strong control over their emotions. You know, they know who they are. They know what's on their mind. They know how to express it, and just like a general, they're very good at planning things out. You know, a general has the map of the land where they're fighting the war, and he's strategizing. You know, so they're very good at planning things. They're planning their life out, planning out how they're going to climb the ladder of success in a career that they just started, some job or something. They're very adventurous too. They do represent like the ram. The symbol of the ram is the Aries. When you look at these rams, I forgot what part of the country or part of the world, but there are certain, like, these really steep hills where rams dwell, and you know, they're jumping down and they're jumping upwards, and it just seems impossible to do that kind of stuff. But that's what the Aries represents. They're very adventurous and fearless. You know, they're gonna go out and do things. So they're about taking on new adventures and going out and doing things. You know, when they get really more on the negative side, they can be very imposing their will onto other people, being very forceful. You know, with people like that. But for the most part, they're very good people. They're very good leaders, and they can lead the soldiers into the war, and they're good friends too to have. All fire signs are good friends to have. They're very they'll back you up. You know, they represent that fire. So moving over to we go to the fifth house. Leo is originally sitting in the fifth house, and Leo is represents the sun. It's the outer expression of the sun, and the sun is our soul. The sun, and our sun represents shining the light on everything. So Leos are seen as people who like being the center of attention. They like expressing who they are, and they want other people to recognize who they are. They like that kind of recognition. They want that kind of respect. It's just like the lion. The lion, the king of the jungle, who's just kicking back, but he wants that. Make sure he's getting that respect from the pride. So they represent that. And the fifth house represents the entertainment business, actors. It represents musicians. So these are people that are the center of attention. They're in the spotlight, and they want to be recognized for their talent. That's what the Leos represent. Leos are very good at expressing the soul, being that they're the sun represents the soul. So when they get into those higher aspects, they're very good at expressing the soul, expressing the true laws, the true spiritual laws of nature. Mike, the Thunder Wizard, he's a Leo, and he's very good at expressing the soul and what's going on, and with relationships and all that. And also Leos too, they're very passionate. They're very passionate with expressing their emotions. Like an Aries can be, like I was saying, they can appear insensitive because their emotions are under control. The Leos express their emotions. They express them really heavily. They're very passionate, and you could feel it in the room when people are talking, when they're talking. Like with Mike, the Thunder Wizard, when he's criticizing someone in the live chat or something, or he's getting offended by something, he'll express what's on his mind. And, you can feel it. You can tell he's very emotional towards what he says. And, the negative side of Leos, they can be that self-centered. They could be tyrants. The sun represents really huge authority figures, so they can be like politicians they could be the tyrants. They can be too overbearing. They could impose their will on other people. They can dominate other people when they're getting off balance. That's what's going on with them. This is also the house. The fifth house is the house of children. So they're very protective of their children too. Anything else there? No, I think we'll go over to Sagittarius. This is the original ninth house sign. And Sagittarius is the outer expression of Jupiter. And same thing, Sagittarius, they're fire, they're action, they represent leadership, going out and expressing themselves. However, they express themselves through this ninth house. The ninth house is the house of teaching people. So they can be good teachers, they can be professors. It also represents education, so they can be that kind of stuff. It represents religion, so they can be priests, religious leaders, and also it represents spirituality, so they can be gurus, those types of people. And they're very much interested in law and order, justice. So these types of people can stand up for social issues. They can be like the revolutionary types, and they could really inspire and motivate people to stand up for their rights. Like Martin Luther King, someone like that. Well, he was more representative of. Someone like Martin Luther King. When they get on the negative side, they can be very like if they get into like a dogmatic religion, they can be very close-minded and just within the boundaries of that religion, and they can be very headstrong with just sticking to that, and you know what I mean. They're not open to other opinions, and that can get bad. That could turn into like the cult leaders, people who end up controlling masses of people, and then they get everybody to commit suicide, for the cause that this leader represents. So that's when they get negative. Sagittarians, they can get really I don't know what the word is, but yeah, really controlling and closed-minded, sticking to their idea, their perception of what justice really is, even though it just might be within their own mind, you know. So that's about it, yeah. And so, and if you also notice that all of the fire signs are 5 houses apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all of the elements are like that. Let's say if, like, also you can look at this as a way of, like, the first house represents fire. The first house. So if, let's say, a Cancer ascendant is, the first house will be ruled by Cancer, and that's a water sign. So this water sign is going to be in this first house that's feeling that fire. So that can create like mixed emotions within the mind. It can create anger, you know, because water and fire represents steam. You know, if you see in the old cartoons, the steam, someone's really all angry and pissed off, you know. When you get earth signs in here, that can really stabilize the fire. It could, you know, calm it down a bit. Air signs too can get a little bit, it could really agitate the fire, make it more, give more fire, you know, because when wind blows on fire, it helps to expand the fire. But enough wind could really turn out the fire. Same thing with water. Enough water can turn out the fire. So that's basically about empowering yourself, you know, bringing in a lot of energy. Qigong, doing things like Qigong, empowering yourself. When you do that, that's when you start controlling this fire. Even within the Aries sign, Leo and Sagittarius, they could control the fire too. Was there another one? Earth, air, water. I did them all. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to do the next video I do is going to be on the next house, the second house, which is the sign of Taurus, which is an earth sign. So I'll do the earth signs. And the earth signs too, they'll be all 5 houses apart from each other. So yeah, if anybody's interested in getting those Thunder Astrology readings or a 9-world rune reading, go to greg.thunderwizard.com and subscribe if you'd like to see more content. All right, guys, take it easy. Peace.